In some streets of Oakland, trash is piling up, and people are coming to Oakland to dump illegally. But some residents are fighting back. Our guest today is Ansel Troy, who's been filming these incidents, and he has a lot of details about what's happening there.
It's a public health crisis. Rodents, motor oil, tires, discarded food, molded food, and then there's the psychological thing that makes you feel like nobody cares about me if I have to walk through all this trash. We have to take care of our community. We have to look out for each other.
We also talked to Vincent Williams, who has organized many volunteers to come and clean up Oakland.
We have removed over 441 tons of illegally dumped trash from streets, parks, waterways, and other common spaces.
I'm Siama Karami. Welcome to California Insider. Ansel, it's great to have you on. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're from Oakland, and Oakland has some issues with illegal dumping.
Yes.
And looks like things are getting worse, and you've been documenting this. Can you tell us what's happening there?
I've lived in Oakland my entire life. Outside of a couple years in college, in Hayward, California, like a couple towns over. And most of my life, the city has always been a place where, I was happy to come home, to walk down the street. And I started to feel a bit different in the past few years where it was depressing, right? There's mounds of trash, and then you see people sleeping on the street. And then, it made me wonder, what is going on with our city? And why is it that as soon as you cross the border into the next town, it's much cleaner? I started to document it and share what was going on. But I also went to certain neighborhoods that didn't have this issue, and I wanted to know, what is the city doing about this? I think that the issue was very complex, but as a regular Joe Schmo citizen, I decided that it was unacceptable because it's a public health crisis. Rodents, motor oil, tires, discarded food, molded food. It brings so much with it. And then there's the psychological thing that makes you feel like nobody cares about me if I have to walk through all this trash. And then my child has to see this. So that led me to sharing images and video and, asking our city leaders, hey, what's going on here? We see it in our neighborhoods, couches and mattresses and construction material. I could drive around my block and take a photo of everything and create a map just to show the level of illegal dumping in residential neighborhoods.
And it's just random, so people just come and dump at a random place and go, or do they dump these things in a certain areas?
Well, there are hot spots.
Yeah.
Where they're always going to dump there, and then sometimes it feels like there's a random corner. But what happens is when there's one piece of trash, it balloons because other people see it, and they'll say, "Oh, we'll just throw our stuff there as well." Some of this stuff is a household, right? It's not always the construction materials. Some people are taking trash from their homes and then dropping it. And every now and then I'll get in there and look at the addresses on the boxes, and I'm like, oh, this house is right around the corner, and they forgot to remove the address sticker from the Amazon package. So you know that it's people in the community that are doing this as well.
Have you seen a significant increase in the last few years in this?
I don't have the data to substantiate it, but it feels like it's getting worse.
When you document this, do you see the people that are dumping? Have you ran into people that are dumping? Who are they?
You see people throw stuff out of their cars. I saw somebody come out of their living situation, an encampment, and they had a bag of trash and they just threw it right next to them. I also set up my own camera on a city street with I got a GoPro, and I bought an external battery from Amazon. And then I went up the pole. I put my ladder on the pole on the power pole. And I documented it and everything. My friends said I was crazy. But I wanted to see, could I record this without any city infrastructure or funding? What would it take to document it? And so I was able to record this van coming and throwing everything out of his van. And I'm like, wow, this is a $500 setup that I was able to set up, just put it here, and imagine what I could do if I had hundreds of thousands of dollars and how I could capture it and document and get the license plates and get the full,
So they came with the license plate, everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just very comfortable. They just dropped the stuff and left, right? So you could easily catch them if you...
Well, that's a good question, because the Oakland Police Department has a directive that they are not to stop people for equipment violations. So they're directed not to stop people. So if you have a busted taillight or if you have a missing license plate, back in the day, you would get pulled over. A license plate is how we identify vehicles going down the street. There's a description of the vehicle. I should mention that I worked in law enforcement for 14 years.
You were in the probation
I was
officer.
a probation officer. So how do you identify a vehicle that's dumping stuff? The license plate. You can't get up on the VIN unless you're like right up on it. It's the description of the vehicle, but primarily the license plate. And we have license plate reading cameras. Well, in Oakland, there's no more pulling cars over for missing license plates. So now you don't have to have a license plate to drive through Oakland because the police aren't going to stop you. That is confirmed. That's on the record. It's been said at city council meetings. And the reason why is because there was a report that showed that the police department was stopping more Black and Latino people. Instead of addressing the alleged discrimination, the officers were told, we're not going to do it anymore. No more license plate stops. And I only found this out from doing some research. So now anybody can dump anything in Oakland, and you don't need to have a license plate on your car. You just drive in, dump, and you drive out. You're not going to get pulled over.
Have you had any encounters with these people? Because you're going out there and you're documenting, right?
I have. I'm also mindful that, I have to make it home, and it's not worth risking my life to confront somebody who's doing this, because there was a story that came out, and you can look it up, that somebody confronted some illegal dumpers and they shot at them in Oakland.
Wow.
They shot at them. Actually, I want to say they followed them in their car, and there were some gunshots. So I'm not going to put my life at risk. It can be dangerous. There are certain encampments that attract a lot of illegal dumping. You can go there and see, this person may be sleeping in this tent, and they come out and they just throw their food or whatever. They add it to a pile. It's kind of pointless to say, hey, you just threw your McDonald's bag on this big old pile of trash. You shouldn't do that. You're contributing to the problem, when this entire encampment is filled to the brim with trash.
And they're just doing a little bit more. Are people making money from this?
Trash collection has historically been tied to organized crime. In Oakland, if you are a hauler, if you're helping people, whether it's a contractor or somebody is looking to just clean out their garage, you can go pick up their trash and they'll pay you to take it to the dump. And then you can just throw it on the street. And so now this is a business where, let's say, for instance, you're making $500 a day. And then one time you get caught and you get fined $1,000. Well, if you've been making money for years doing this, and you only got caught once, and they fined you $1,000, why would you stop? You've made hundreds of thousands of dollars doing this. You've only been caught once. You pay the fine, they're not going to catch you again. Our district attorney has not prosecuted illegal dumpers, not to my knowledge. And even recently, they're saying that they're working on creating a unit to address illegal dumping, our current district attorney in Alameda County. Obviously, I'm keeping up with the research and seeing what's going on with this, but there's really no consequences for illegal dumping in Oakland.
Does the city come and clean? Because you try to call them, like this is...
Yeah, sometimes. You can report it on a 311 app. And there was a time where, within 72 hours, they would be on it. It seems like that has changed because as somebody who, reports illegal dumping consistently, and because it's like right outside of my house, I also want to make sure that, we're clear. I'm talking literally, I have to step outside my house and walk around the corner. It's right there.
Outside your house.
Right. So I get to drive past it every day. And if I was the one that reported it, I know that it's been sitting there. There have been times where you report trash, I take a picture. Well, from the time that I've taken the picture and reported it, there's more trash on top of it. And so the city says that they cleaned it up. And so I've had to go out with my camera and move this to the side and say, you never picked it up. This is the same trash that I reported. It's just covered with new trash. How many people are going to get their hands dirty and dig through that? Not many. And then also, how many people have the cameras or the time to actually do it and to document and say, I can prove that this trash was never collected, even though they closed it out of the app and said that we picked it up. I can absolutely prove it. It kind of makes me feel like I'm fighting against my own city. And then also, I don't want somebody to lose their job because they lied about picking up this trash. But I do want some accountability to say, you know what? You're absolutely right, Ansel. We didn't pick it up, and you proved that we didn't pick it up. And these are the steps that we're going to take to make sure that this doesn't happen again. You're not going to get that. You're not going to get that. You'd be lucky if you get a response to your email, which leads us to, well, I guess I should post it on Twitter. And
then what happens when you post it on Twitter? Does it get resolved?
I get invited to the California Insider. What happens is I learned that after a couple of my posts went kind of viral, 50,000 views, I said, oh. Then the city responded. There was a tennis court that was covered in trash. Nobody could use the tennis court. Somebody was living on it. And I posted a photo. And then the next week, city leaderships were out there, but only because of the engagement online. And then I discovered that, oh, okay, this is what we're doing now, right? I send an email, I get ignored. I post it on social media, now we got action. That's really unfortunate because I shouldn't have to do that. Like, I never wanted to be in front of the camera and speaking to the news and here talking to you. I just wanted a clean neighborhood. And so a clean city. And so you continue to post, and now, people get familiar with who you are, they want to talk. And then people are running for election, and now they're attacking me because I'm sharing things during an election cycle, and it makes people that are running look bad. And so now there is this whole idea that I'm a political plant and that somebody's paying me. And they're probably going to take this interview and say, see, I told you.
As someone reporting on California's economy and policies every week, unfortunately, I see the middle class shrinking in California. Some of it has to do with our policies, and there is another side to this that we are facing major inflation here and across the country. Unfortunately, the dollar has lost 10% of its value just this year to date. That's why more and more people are turning to real assets to protect their financial future, like physical gold and silver from American Hardfold Gold. Unlike paper assets, these tangible investments can't be controlled or devalued by inflation or bad policies. You can have them delivered straight to your home or securely stored in a tax-advantaged gold IRA, giving you a safe, reliable way to safeguard your wealth No matter what happens in California or the rest of the country, American Heartful Gold has an A-plus rating with the Better Business Bureau and thousands of 5-star reviews. And right now, when you call, you can get up to $15,000 in free silver with your first purchase. Call 866-595-2304. That's 866-595-2304. Or text Cali to 65532. Make sure to text Cali to 65532. Beat the system and protect your wealth with something real today. So your area, East Oakland, right?
Yes.
It's a tight community, isn't it?
A lot of us, natives are really prideful. The Oakland Coliseum is in East Oakland. So when the Warriors won the championships, right, we were celebrating in East Oakland. The Raiders, the A's, all of these teams that are no longer in Oakland, it is something that, I smile about talking because, it's my city. It's where I was raised. It's where I went to school. I want to say that I absolutely love, being from East Oakland. We have a lot of celebrities, musicians, athletes, Too Short, and Raphael Sadiq, Tony, and, LeBron James played basketball when he was in high school for a team called the Oakland Soldiers. A lot of people don't know that, but he had, when he was in high school, he played for the Oakland Soldiers for one summer. So yeah, we got pride.
Now we go to Vincent Williams with Urban Compassion Project, who's mobilized many people to come to these cleanup efforts. Vincent, it's great to have you on. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You have a project, you have a unique project. You're working on cleaning up the illegal dumping in Oakland. What's the impact when you guys show up and clean up a street or an encampment?
So this year alone, we have engaged over 3,500 volunteers, and we have removed over 441 tons of illegally dumped trash from streets, parks, waterways, and other common spaces. The impact is it speaks for itself. It speaks for itself. Beyond cleaning up the debris, we have incorporated a homeless ambassador program that allows us to pay individuals $100 per week. Right now, we have 12 people that we work with and paying them $100 a week to ensure that these areas are staying clean and sustainable. We give them the equipment that they need. But beyond that, what's really important to us is that while we're working with them and they're ambassadors for us, it gives us the opportunity to engage with them on a deeper level, to work with them on getting other services and resources. So, it's not so much about paying people to continue to be on the street to hold people accountable for illegally dumping. It's more so about, okay, we've gotten this far, and once we get this far, there's a trust level that is built, and people start to ask us as Urban Compassion Project, hey, you know what, like, I'm tired of being out on the streets. I need detox. I need mental health. Can you help me get some housing? So our impact is like I said, it's incredible, and it continues to grow.
You have a lot of volunteers that help you, right? How did you get them to help you?
Yes. We took to social media. So it was suggested to me early on. I was really against it to begin with because I don't really do social media. But I took the advice and the suggestion, and I started posting on social media, and it grew like wildfire. People started asking if they could get involved, and we went from 7 volunteers per cleanup to 150 or more per cleanup that we do.
When you guys do these cleanups, does the site get filled again with these dumpings?
Some of them do. So if we look at 100% of the cleanup locations that we have had in the last, let's say, 100 days, for the most part, about 93% of those locations has remained debris-free, whereas the other 7%, because of the placement of them in Oakland and the lack of capacity for City of Oakland to hold people accountable, they continue to get dumped on. But in general, like looking at our KPIs and our data, 93% is a great stat to have when it comes to areas remaining clean and debris-free.
In terms of your volunteers, you have a big pool of volunteers. Who are they? Are they all from Oakland?
They're not all from Oakland. We have volunteers that are transplants to Oakland. One of our volunteers doesn't even live in the Bay Area, drives from almost Sacramento every Saturday to come out and help us at cleanups. Some are from San Francisco, Berkeley. We have a lot of volunteers that join us that come here to travel. We recently had a volunteer that was here on vacation from Canada. A large part of our volunteer base is Oakland based, but not all of them. And I think that that makes Urban Compassion Project unique because volunteers or people that are looking for opportunities to kind of just be part of something bigger than themselves seek out Urban Compassion Project to get involved.
You mentioned someone that's going from Sacramento to Oakland to help you guys, and why?
This gentleman has been in corporate America for 30 plus years and has worked for, some major companies. And it's interesting because we know that people that believe in something will go to no end to get involved and to make sure that they show up, right? And so with conversations with him, we understand from him that he sees the impact that we're having, and it's amazing to him, at least if you let him tell it, that he can be involved in something that is having such a great impact in Oakland and is quite literally spreading like wildfire, not just in Oakland but like throughout the Bay Area and California, with how people are showing up for their local communities beyond what local city government is doing.
Is there anything that you can share with us that you have learned in this process of doing these cleanups?
What's very interesting about, I started this organization while I was still sleeping on a bus stop bench. That's important to note.
Wow.
I'm 37. I had lived on the streets for 24 years. The struggle or the fear in starting this organization was that nobody would agree with it because the climate in the country, for the longest time has been an infighting of sorts. And, no one can agree on certain things, and everybody has different opinions and political beliefs and religious beliefs. And what's ended up happening with Urban Compassion Project is we've been able to create this space where it doesn't matter how you identify, it doesn't matter what religious background you come from, it doesn't matter, like volunteers don't care of what side of the aisle you sit on or who you support politically. One of our oldest volunteers was one that hit us up on Instagram 4 years ago and was like, "You're enabling murderers and rapists and drug addicts, and I would never support your organization." And we suggested that maybe you come to a cleanup. I said, "Hey, maybe you come to a cleanup, and if you don't like what you see after the cleanup, then I'll quit what I'm doing and I'll never do this work again." And she came to a cleanup that we had, and about an hour into the cleanup, we couldn't find her, and I found her kind of sitting off on a side street, and I approached her and I said, "Hey, what's wrong?" This is a woman who owns multi-million-dollar house in the hills of Oakland and thought that, all people need to be removed from encampments and locked up or sent to an island. And she said, "I can't believe like people have to live like this and that we don't take any accountability." And she still has her beliefs. But with those beliefs, what she decides to do is she decides to come to cleanups and support regularly in community with what she can do. This is something that people can be involved in regardless of what walk of life they are, that has an impact that everybody can agree on. And so that's what I would say, like our biggest obstacle that we've overcome is actually creating a true compassionate space where it doesn't matter. All we want to do is do the next right thing and have integrity while we're doing it.
I see you're on the road, Vincent, and it seems like you're on the road a
Yes.
lot because you're going from job to job and you're trying to clean places up. How can people
Yes.
help you?
Yeah. So just a quick background. I am wearing the same clothes I wore yesterday because I have not been home yet. Last night we were at a location where we were able to, huge note, actually, in the last year, the city of Oakland has not held anybody accountable for illegally dumping. Not one person has been fined or cited. And last night, for the first time, because of the work that we're doing, the first person was cited and fined for illegally dumping because we caught them. We contacted PD. We provided them with video and proof, and they were able to capture the person while they were still on site. And so, yes, we need a ton of support. We are an extremely small organization when it comes to the amount of staff that we have that are regular. Hugely, if anyone's in the Bay Area, in California, in the San Francisco Bay Area, sign up for a cleanup. Come out and join us. I always say that you may think that we're not having an impact until you actually come out and join a cleanup and actually see in real time the impact that you can have as a volunteer.
You guys have had some crime issues too, right? How does this dynamic work? You guys care about your community, but then there's issues too. Can you tell us more about it?
The way I see it is that if you look at any city, LA, New York, Chicago, Miami, you can absolutely enjoy these places and the culture, but you have the good, you have the bad, you have the ugly. There's always going to be crime. Less crime in the Oakland Hills, more along the flatlands. And so going back to what I talked about with the Oakland Police Department, where the way that they engage with motorists or, just citizens in general, it's kind of hands off. So I'll tell you an example. My car got hit. There was a hit and run on the 4th of July a couple years ago. I have dash camera. I got it on video. I got the license plate. Me being from Oakland, something told me that car was from that area. So I drove back to the area and I found the car that hit me. It was a block away from where I got hit. They were doing donuts in the intersection. They left, they came back and did donuts, and then they hit me. I was at a stoplight. And so I got this video, and the car's right here, and I called the police department, and for a month, nobody did anything. They didn't tow the car. It took almost a year for my police report to come back because you fill out the report online.
Wow.
So what happens is Oakland then becomes a destination for people who want to commit crimes because they know that, well, I don't even need a license plate. I'm not going to get pulled over, right? It's easy for me to get away with it. And then when you have a police force that's having difficulty with recruitment, I think this is a statewide issue where there's not a lot of people going into law enforcement, so your numbers are down, your academy numbers are down.
And then now there's no funding. Now this is another issue that some areas don't have funding. So.
Well, I would say I know that in Oakland, our police budget continues to grow. I'm not a budget expert, but the number goes up. And that also is related to the cost of salary and ammunition and things just going up, inflation. The Oakland Police Department continues to be funded. I don't think that that's the issue. I think the issue is
they just can't do what they need to do.
Back in the day, if you were driving in Oakland, when I was growing up and a police car got behind you, you were like, oh my God, right? Which is not really what you want, right? We don't want people that are so afraid of their public servants, but we do want people who are planning on doing bad things to say, the police are here and they're gonna find you and they're gonna arrest you if you do something. Oakland is not the place where you're gonna get away with things because we do our job and we do it well. But today it feels like they are restricted on what they used to be able to do. It's like something as simple as saying, hey, I pulled you over because you don't have a license plate.
You can't do that anymore.
They don't do that anymore. Such a basic form of law enforcement,
What do your neighbors think of the situation there? Do they see that happening?
A lot of my neighbors are frustrated with the city. They complain. I am the chair of my neighborhood council. So we meet with the Oakland Police Department once a month. We have an officer that we meet with, we have a relationship with. They give us crime statistics. We can bring our issues to them. And so there's very few people that come to our meetings. And I think that that's just because people don't like showing up to meetings. The frustration from a lot of my neighbors are from people that are a little bit older, They are often retirees. They are not necessarily as tech savvy. So they're used to calling and emailing and not getting a response. And then they'll just be frustrated. And then you just get back to living life because you got to go to work tomorrow. You got bills to pay. So people will, express their frustration, but there's not a lot of action behind it. And when I say, hey, can I interview you or let's put out a video, nobody wants their face shown. They're fearful of retaliation. I find myself alone a lot of times when I say, hey, I can put this on social media, it might go viral, and the city might address it. But some people are like, nope, I don't want any attention, I don't want the trouble. So what you have is a lot of people that are just mad, and they channel that through just speaking out and complaining at meetings, but there's not really much follow-up or an action or a plan of, okay, how do we take this energy and let the city know that this is unacceptable? People are less inclined to showing their faces on camera and getting on social media.
What kind of retaliation is there?
People have came for my business. I build and design tiny houses. I share my home with travelers. People book my place, and people book my place for photo shoots. So people will say, oh, he is a landlord, and he lives here, and his son lives here. We call it doxing. So I post a photo of trash, and so somebody doesn't like it because it makes their friend, who's an elected official, look bad. So then they go and look up my background to see if somebody's paying me. So then they found out, well, nobody's paying him. Well, what can we do to this guy to make him stop? And then they put out my private information. And I'm just like, why? What am I doing that's making you so upset that you want to attack me as a private citizen? I care about my community, and I want a clean community, and I'm tired of being depressed when I drive home and look at trash. So the retaliation it's really with online anonymous accounts, because they never put their face behind it. Like I'm not here for people to agree with me. I do think that we can have respectful dialogue and we can respectfully disagree, because that's okay, and we can learn from each other. But when you attack somebody, viciously, and then you hide behind an anonymous username, and I can't find out who you are, and I can't subpoena a platform to expose you, because in this wonderful country of ours, the First Amendment allows people to say and do a lot of things, and it's very hard to prove like defamation and stuff like that. It's very hard. So they attack you online anonymously. And unfortunately, this is the nature of social media these days.
So how do you keep going with what you're doing?
Well, eventually I've learned that they're gonna get tired. They'll stop. So if you allow people to silence you, then they win, right? And if you continue to, they say sunshine is the best disinfectant or something like that. When you actually engage with them and say, hey, can you come to my neighborhood council meeting? I want to meet you. Can we walk through my neighborhood to show you what's going on? Then those people, they disappear as well. So you got the anonymous folks, and then you have the people that are not anonymous, but they're still saying that, hey, I heard you were a political plant. And say, hey, well, I'm not. You want to meet me? You want to come? Let's clean up this trash together. Let's work together. And then they don't show up either. So it's just noise. It's just noise. And then also, there are times where you have to file, a legal complaint when people cross the line between the First Amendment and then harassment and defamation. And thankfully, we have online tools that will help somebody like myself who may not necessarily have the money to hire a law firm. I can talk to ChatGPT and it'll help me draft my complaint. So the game has changed. where we can still hold people accountable for telling lies. And then I also learned that I can simply talk with people and see if they're serious about trying to clean up the city, or if they just want me to stop because it makes their friend look bad and they may not get elected again if I keep posting, you know?
Now, Ansel, are you making progress based on what you're seeing?
Yes and no. The trash is still there, but I'm meeting people. The elected officials know who I am. When I send an email, I'll get a response now. I have the phone numbers of elected officials. They know that I'm serious, and they've done their research. The progress is now we're having conversations, and I can share my ideas about how we can fix this. The actual dumping, I haven't seen any progress because that's above me, because I can't enforce the laws. I'm not the DA, I'm not the city. I can't do any of that. And if I pull out my camera and go up to somebody and say, hey, you're dumping in my community, it puts me in harm's way. I'll say this, I am a CCW holder. I have the right to carry a firearm concealed in Alameda County, but I don't want to use it. I don't want to. I don't ever want to have to use my guns outside of the gun range, right? I don't ever want to feel like somebody wants to harm me and my child. So you have to be very, very, very careful when you're documenting these folks that are doing these things, because, you know, who's going to protect me when they retaliate? So the progress is made in that now we're having conversations about how can we fix this. We're in Silicon Valley where we solve things. We're solution oriented. There's no way that you're telling me that I can put satellites and astronauts, you know, in space, but I can't stop people from dumping trash. There's so much technology here that's available for us. And the fact that we're not leveraging that to solve something as simple as people dumping trash, I think is a conversation that's not being had. The progress is not good enough for me. There's a lot more work to be done. Like, there's a lot of work to be done.
Before we move forward with the rest of this interview, let's take a look at the key headlines this week at the Epoch Times newspaper on the California section. State lawmakers wrapped up their session and about 1,200 bills passed in California. Last year, the governor's office vetoed about 15.7% of these bills. We'll see which ones would get vetoed this time. Another key headline was that cap and trade was extended till 2045, and now it's called cap and invest. The idea is that the state would charge fees for polluters, for companies that have emissions, and then invest these funds into green initiatives. There could be a major change for faith-based homeless housing, and some of these faith-based homeless housing are the most popular and the most successful in the state. Now they might be getting a lot more government funding. There's a new bill in California that is training law enforcement on transnational repression, essentially teaching law enforcement how to deal with foreign governments coming here and doing their own operations. One of these examples is the Chinese Communist Party. And as you know, we are a sponsor of Shenyun, and Shenyun as a show has faced a lot of challenges in the US because the Chinese Communist Party is coming after them. They're threatening sometimes the theaters, they're having bomb threats, and this is one of the examples that this bill will cover in California. There is a lot more headlines in this newspaper. It's not just a newspaper, there's a 24/7 platform with many news articles. These issues we cover are multifaceted. We have a lot of voices in these articles. We have more voices than we have on the show. Make sure to get the newspaper subscription right now. You'll be surprised by the quality of journalism that we have in this paper. It's very unique. Now let's go see the rest of the episode. What are some of these solutions? So you mentioned surveillance is one of them. Mm-hmm. What else is there that Oakland can do tomorrow to start solving this problem?
If I were the mayor tomorrow, I would hold a press conference with the district attorney, and I would say that we are actively prosecuting people for illegal dumping. There are a couple videos. There's somebody in the Cybertruck. There's a video that went viral. There's a guy in a Cybertruck. I like the Cybertrucks, by the way. You know, Elon, if you're watching this, give me a free one. License plate clear and everything, dumping trash. They know who it is. Why didn't we prosecute that person? And it doesn't mean, hey, you go to jail for the rest of your life. It means that we have a tool, and whether it's you're going to do community service or whether it's you're going to be fined, you're going to stand in front of a judge and answer to why you felt the need to throw your trash in this community, because the appearance of somebody in this luxury, expensive vehicle, like those Cybertrucks are $100,000. They didn't throw it in front of their house. They drove away from their home to dump it in my community. Why aren't we prosecuting that person?
Now, what about your community members? You mentioned it's a tight community, right? People care about each other, right?
Absolutely.
What can they do to expedite this?
I think the missing piece is more voices, more loud voices. The emails are effective when there's a lot, right? So if you ignore my email, is one thing. But if you get 200, right, that sends a message. That sends a message. So I think that as community members, if we organize and we're on the same page, then we can let City Hall know these are our expectations. And it's not an attack. It's not an attack to let somebody know that this is what I want from you. But some people might frame it as that if we say, these are our expectations, and if you don't meet them, then we're going to consider looking for new representation. I think that's the way recalls work. When the voters are unhappy with what they're getting, so they take the necessary steps to get new representation, because we live in a democracy. And as a public servant, I worked in law enforcement for 14 years. I always knew that my job was to serve the public. I always knew that this wasn't about me. This was about the people that pay my salary. And I left as a supervisor, and I told my officers that we work for the people, right? Give that person your cell number. It's a government phone. Give that person your email. They need to be able to reach you for anything that they need, because we are here to serve the public. The only thing that I can do is try to motivate people to jump on board. I think that is the hard part, is asking people to volunteer their time to do stuff.
What's the impact of all this on Oakland? When you see this illegal dumping, this trash, how do you think it's impacting Oakland?
Who wants to open up a business in a neighborhood that's filled with trash? Who wants to purchase a home in a neighborhood that's filled with trash? Who wants to have their sports franchise in a city that is filled with trash? Who wants to raise their kids there? So now we have a lot of vacant commercial properties where we're not generating the tax revenue that fund all of the things that we need. And now there are people that are fleeing the city to look for a better place to raise their family. Keep in mind, Oakland is still a part of the larger Silicon Valley, right? Still right next to San Francisco, right? Location is so important. You know, we have a very good transit system. This is prime real estate, right? Oakland is still prime real estate. Like, we're right next to San Francisco. We have a major port. We have an international airport. Like, it's a wonderful place to be, but it can be so depressing that people would rather not spend their money here, not raise their family here, not start their business here. And that impacts us all, because I remember in Oakland that was bustling. I remember in Oakland where things were wonderful, where we had, you know, tons of festivals, you know, and concerts and, you know, things that are still here. You know, there's still a little bit of that here. We still got a lot of culture. I love my city, but I want to get it back to its heyday, where Oakland was the place to be. And and we had, good news coming out of Oakland.
Have you ever thought about leaving?
Absolutely. I think about it all the time. I think about it when I'm tired at the end of the day and I'm just like, is it even worth it? I think about when I go into another city and I'm like, oh my God, there are no potholes here. I think about driving to places and having a meal and it's just so clean. And I'm like, you know what? I don't know how much longer I'm going to be on this earth, but darn, this neighborhood is nice, right? What is going on in this city that's not going on in Oakland? And maybe I just say, you know what? I can't win this battle. Let me just move to the burbs and then deal with the suburban issues, which are, neighbors butting heads about an apple from your fruit tree dropped in my backyard. Those issues versus potholes and illegal dumping, which problems do you want? I do think about it all the time. I think about it all the time. Am I going to take action and leave? I don't know. Maybe we'll need to, check back in 5 years. But I do feel like Oakland is one of the best cities in the world, and that if we can just clean it up, then more people would come back and invest.
You spend a lot of time on this. How much time do you spend doing this filming, and do you do it on a regular basis?
I try to get up every morning and go out and document because school is in session. I try to get out really early so that I can capture people going to school and going to work and seeing what they walk past. And then you have to edit the video and upload the video. I would say I spend maybe 2 hours a day.
So it's kind of like community service, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I don't get paid anything.
How did you learn to do this? Like, you're doing a service for your community.
I worked at a lot of nonprofits growing up. I did a lot of youth work growing up. I wanted to be a high school teacher. So, a lot of my mentors were, pushed for service-oriented. They were service-oriented people. Community service. We have to take care of our community. We have to look out for each other. That's just my upbringing. We can't solely rely on these people, downtown to do everything. We have to help as well. We may not have all the resources, but we can still do our part. Sometimes it's creating awareness. Sometimes it's picking up the trash. Sometimes it's knocking on doors. Sometimes it's just having a conversation. I think that there's different ways that we can contribute, but I would say that my overall upbringing, being raised in the church and, in Oakland public schools, I had some really amazing teachers. Shout out to Dennis Geikema, my favorite teacher. The history of like the Black Panther Party in Oakland and feeding the community and things like that. We have a lot of great people doing work. The East Oakland Collective, feeding the community. Oakland is a grassroots city where historically Oaklanders have figured things out on their own without City Hall involvement. So I just think that that's part of being from Oakland. You're gonna have to figure it out. They say if you can survive in certain places, you can survive anywhere. So I don't have any, formal training, if you will. I would just say that just growing up, this was just the way we do things.
Ansel Troy, East Oakland Neighborhood Council Chair. It was great to have you on California Insider.
Thank you for having me. It was a wonderful conversation.
And hopefully when we see you next time, the trash is gone.
I hope so as well. I hope so as well. I'll continue posting online.
Let us know what you think is happening in the streets of Oakland. Do you think the city should do more to punish illegal dumping, or do you think the residents need to do more to clean up the streets? You can always comment or email us at siamak@californiainsider.com. We read all of your emails and comments. And when you comment, make sure to consider everybody. Our platform is a platform for bringing people together. I'm Siamak Karami. This is California Insider. We'll see you next time.